Right, we're just going to do a bit of measuring now. The piston needs to be the correct clearance all the way around, and it will be slightly different because these are piston barrels are slightly oval, and they will come round as the bike warms up usually. But so I'm told. I've never been able to measure one, but I'm told that's what happens. And what you're looking for is 4 thou skirt clearance, and you measure it at the bottom of the barrel where it's the piston skirt is, and that's 4 thou. That's exactly what it should be. So now my barrels are in good order. Yeah, 4 thou. Now at the side, I've got a block of wood on the bottom of here, by the way. If you're worried about my pistons hitting something hard, it's important you don't damage your pistons when you're doing this. So I've got a 4 thou skirt gap this way. So now I'm just going to measure it this way, and I expect it to be bigger. And 6 thou. And that is 6 thou. So it's 2 thou ovality. That is 6 thou as well. So they're both 6 thou. So 6 thou clearance this way and 4 thou clearance that way. And I'm happy with that, and that's all cool. It's very important you measure that. If it's too big, if it's like 10 thou, what happens is that the pistons, when they're going up and down, cockle. They start to do this backwards and forwards movement, not so much that way. This is commonly known as the piston slap that you get from a worn engine. But certainly that way, and that's one of the reasons why you get a little bit of difference, in my opinion, because the things are moving up and down at an extremely high rate and wear a little bit on here. I'm happy with what I've got on that. These are brand new pistons, and manufacturers recommend that you always measure at 90 degrees to the pins. This piston manufacturer recommends that the gap should be 4.5 thou, measured at right angles to the pin. So you always measure this way. I always check this way, and that way, and I record my results. Then next time I do my engine rebuild, which hopefully will be 60,000 miles, I can check the differences on what's worn. Okay, so now we'll look towards fitting the piston rings. You've got 3 piston rings. You've got the oil control ring, which goes at the bottom of the piston. You've got the center compression ring, which fits in the middle, and that is marked with top, so you know which way around it goes. This side faces up. And you've got the top compression ring, which is only marked with a little dot. Now what we need to do is to gap these to make sure that the gaps are correct before we put them in. So the way we do the gapping is fairly simple. We get the piston ring, put it inside the ball, push it down about ½ an inch below the level. It's level all the way around, and in fact I'll use an old piston for doing that. So here's my piston, which we shall just pop into there. This is the old piston, one of the old pistons, and push it down about that far and spin it around to make sure it's level. And what we're going to do is measure the gap, which I know you can't see because this camera won't do that. So I'll take a photograph. So I use my camera phone to measure so you can see the piston ring gap that I'm talking about. So that gap in there, I'm looking between plus 13, 14, 15 thousandths of an inch. If it's not that size, then we have to gap it. Otherwise, what will happen is when the engine starts up, these will expand and seize up, and you don't want that happening. Equally so, you don't want too big a ring gap either. So I've just tried a 10 thou feeler gauge in there, and as you can see, it's not even going to fit that. So I'm going to have to file the ends down with a small file, and you carefully remove enough material to achieve 12, 13, 14 thousandths of an inch. So using a smooth file, these are made from cast iron. They're incredibly brittle. You must use soft jaws to hold these, and also they file really easily. So you only need a smooth file, and you just gently, and keeping it as parallel as you possibly can, lay the file on the top and just gently stroke a few strokes across the top. And take it out. And put it back in the barrels again. See what you manage to get, and it's just a matter of constantly doing this until you get the right gap. There's no other way to do it, and it's got to be done, because if you don't do it, you can end up with a seized engine, and you don't want that. What have I got? Well, that's 10 thou. So we're doing good. These piston rings, don't twist them. If you twist them, they will break. And when you hold them in the vise, you only want a little tiny bit sticking out, so you don't want it wobbling around while you're filing it. And do it again, and you just keep doing this until it's done and it's correct. I'm not going to film doing the whole thing because it's going to take an hour or so to do it, but that's what's got to be done. There's no other way. Oh, just thought of a little tip I use when I'm filing these down is that each time I file them down, hopefully you can see this, you will see that the material goes, see the edge here where I'm pointing, trying to point to, and it goes shiny, and that's because I use a marker pen, and it just helps keep them straight. So, marker pen. Then file the ink off. ink's gone, you've taken about a thou off. And here's my results. I got 12 thou on the top compression piston ring, 14 thou on the intermediate ring, and 14 thou on the oil control ring, which I'm very happy about. I've included here the document out of the manual that shows you what the actual spec is. They say it's 10 to 14. I prefer 12 to 14. One last thing about pistons and compression. Reducing your compression will reduce your performance. Increasing your compression will give you more power, basically. It's a bigger bang. The lower down you go, the lower the bang. The advantage of running with a lower compression piston is it makes it damn sight easier to start your bike with a kickstart, but it also reduces the amount of power that you're going to get out of the bike. I have never measured the brake horsepower difference between 7.5s and 8.6. Maybe somebody has, and it'd be useful if somebody could send me that info if you've got it. I don't know what it is. I know there's a difference. I've run bikes with 8.6 and they go like stink, and I've run them at 7.5s and I know what they go like, and I've also run them at 7.9. My preference is 7.9, but as I say, you can't get them anymore. The advantage of running with 7.5s is that you can use a lower octane fuel as well, without it pinking or getting pre-ignition. So you can run with a slightly advanced ignition timing. So with 7.9s, I was running at 36 degrees. With 8.6s, I was running at 34 degrees, and the bikes ran fine on 98 octane. Running 7.5 to 1s will allow me to run with a lower octane fuel, like 91 octane. I am going to use 98 octane, which I've always done, but what I will do is advance my ignition timing. I might get 38 degrees. I may be able to get 39 or maybe even 40, I don't know, to get the power back. You can't go too far because you'll throw your ignition timing out too far. It's also relevant to your valve timing. The valves, the cams that I'm using on this rebuild are Spitfire cams. So the inlet and exhaust cams are basically the same valve grind. With a 9989 exhaust cam, that's off the 650, you have a slightly lower profile cam than what you've got on the inlet cam. So the valve lift on the exhaust is a bit lower. With the Spitfire cams, the inlet and outlet valve lift is exactly the same. Your valve timing is also exactly the same. So your inlet and exhaust you're pulling a huge amount of air in from your inlet, but you're also allowing it to blow more out. So possibly, and I won't know until I've done this, because I've never done this combination of Spitfire cams, low compression pistons together. I've normally run Spitfire cams with 8.6 to 1. So this is going to be a whole new thing for me. I don't know what's going to happen. I know the balance factors are going to be correct, so I'm pretty sure that the engine's going to run smoothly, but I don't know how it's going to affect the power. And it's a bit of an experiment that I didn't really want to do. So anyway, we'll find out as we go along with this one. Hope this bit of information has helped. Bye bye for now. The reason I've run this very odd mix of cams and pistons is due to the weight of the pistons I can now buy, whilst maintaining my crankshaft's dynamic balance factor of 71%. 8.6 to 1 pistons are too heavy, 7.5 to 1 are a bit too light. My crank was balanced with 7.9 to 1 piston weight, which is no longer available. To compromise, I've modified the pins on the 7.5 to 1 pistons to balance the crankshaft at 71%, knowing I would lose power from the lower compression. To regain the loss of compression power, I decided to try a new combination of 7.5 to 1, but with 3-1-3-4 grind full race cam as an effective compromise. After running the bike now with the new 3-1-3-4 cams and 7.5 to 1 pistons combination, I'm pleased to say the experiment worked very well, and the bike is performing with no detectable loss of power from the lower compression pistons I'm now using. I do hope this has not been too confusing for you. It is rather difficult to explain at best of times. Thank you. Anyway, thanks for watching and ride safe, guys and gals.